the Cephalon-based build, and Jimmy is going to be playing the Naganadel Guzzlord Mismagius style archetype, where you're trying to activate your own B-strings by giving your opponent a few prize cards early on, so you can sort of turbo out your attacks, as well as disrupting your opponent's hand with early reset stamps. And that's 100% going to be his win condition in this matchup. He's already down a game. You're a fully tag team based attacker, so really the only way you can try and beat an archetype like Manuel's is just simply trying to make sure that he can't get set up early. If Manuel is able to use a couple Elms early, get his Pidgeotos out, it feels like he'll be very ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to lie to you, as we start setting up this game too, and Jimmy did have to take a mulligan right now, I'm not going to lie to you, before we started this round, I was really hoping we'd be able to feature this match.
Yeah.
Mostly because I love balance, okay?
Right.
And I love how we started round 1 yesterday morning with this Guzzlord deck coming out of the blue. Nobody really expected it anywhere, and here we are in round 14 in a win-and-in matchup. We saw how in round 1 and round 2 it just did not produce the results that we wanted it to produce, and here we are in round 14, potentially getting Jimmy Penndarvis into the top 8. This could be the redemption story Guzzlord players have been waiting for.
So far, Manuel's already had a few benefits from mulligans, but you saw his prizes there. 2 welders. That could be potentially a lot of fear factor there, and could definitely slow down his approach, especially if Jimmy's going for this. You know, he's going first. It's that game 2. He lost the first game, so he gets to choose to go first. As long as Jimmy can sort of pop off, finding mysterious treasures, finding dust stones, allowing Manuel to take a few prize cards, reset stamp, and hope that your opponent can't find answers, that's got to be his route to victory here.
We've seen before how having 2 welders or more prized is just
not ideal.
Super backbreaking. It's just, it puts so much pressure on your Pokegears, and if you do not get that early welder off, then you can just fall so far behind that the game just gets out of reach. Jimmy Penndarvis getting to start this game 1 off, does start with Misdreavus in play as his active Pokemon, finds himself a Naganadel and Guzzlord GX, Tag Team GX Pokemon, and also, I believe, a Cynthia and Caitlin off of that tag call. And that is going to be how Jimmy's going to be starting off his turn. Remember, if you tuned in the morning on Friday morning, you have been able to see how fast this Magius deck can really get going. If it gets multiple Misdreavus in play, sacrifices both of them in order to then reduce your opponent down to 4 prizes, then all of a sudden your B-strings come into play, and you can accelerate so many energies that your opponent just can never catch up. That's what Jimmy's hoping to do, and his hand looks to be in good shape to be able to do so.
He was a little bit far away. He was missing the Dusk Stone right now, but that Cynthia and Caitlin, he had to discard the Great Catch in order to do it, but he picked up a Dust Stone as well as an Order Pad, so I think he should be able to start exploding his own Mismagius. He's also got another Mysterious Treasure in hand to find another Misdreavus, also lowering his hand size. I think he's got a turn attachment. He's got a Naganadel Guzzlord. I think we're going to start to see him popping off, and it's exactly what Jimmy needs if he is going to bring back this second game.
Right away, we see that Dust Stone bring that Mismagius into play. Remember, this is the first turn of the game. This is normally not something that you're allowed to see. But because of that Dust Stone, you have this this powerful, explosive turn out of Jimmy potentially. And with still 5 cards remaining and no supporter played for the turn.
He's played the Cynthia and Caitlin.
Oh, he played the Cynthia. Okay, well, having played Cynthia and Caitlin, this does actually kind of change things. And it does change things enough in order for him to just pass here.
So because he can't attack turn 1 anyway, I think he's just saying, you know, I can sacrifice this Mismagius if it is going to be attacked. It's also super unlikely that Manuel will attack him turn 1. Normally Manuel prioritizes using Professor Elm's Lecture, for example, so he can always just try and use this Mismagius next turn, get those B-strings firing off, and really make it difficult for Manuel to make a comeback. The only sort of issue with not using Mysterious Message this turn is it means that that Manuel starts with that bigger hand, especially because he had those additional mulligans, so he has a higher chance of having the Professor Elm's Lecture here, but it doesn't look like he has much. He just has a bunch of basic energy cards. We just see a Blazer here.
Yeah, Blazer just dealing 10 damage, and
it reveals one of the welders, which is a big deal, actually. It tells him that there's a welder and where to grab it from. But only 10 damage.
And it does tell him that it's going to be a little bit harder for him to find the welder if it's not in his prize, or if he doesn't look forward through his prizes.
Right.
But that is the end of Manuel's turn, so you're not wrong. This turn has been very very weak for Manuel, and Jimmy kind of dodges a bullet there because, of course, Manuel could have had an explosive turn himself and really put Jimmy in an awkward position. But instead, Jimmy gets to start the turn with his Mismagius already in play, gets to evolve into another Mismagius, which means Manuel is undoubtedly going to be going down to 4 prizes by the end of Jimmy's turn, as long as Jimmy has additional plays available to him, which means that we could be seeing a B-string play here and potentially a knockout onto this Blacephalon.
Yeah, we're seeing Jimmy go for the order pad here. That does get a head, so that's a really nice pickup. I think he can guarantee himself a B-string, which I think is definitely something that might be a priority here. Normally you want to try and get yourself a couple B-strings, just one for the active to attack in the first place, but also have a backup just in case your Naganadel and Guzzlord does get knocked out. And obviously he's against an archetype that does have 1 hit KO potential. We're also going to see that Violent Appetite being a nice -1 to make his Mysterious Message that much stronger. So although you didn't see any healing happen, you do get to do the discard effect first. And we're going to see Jimmy now get himself a fresh 5-card hand with that Mysterious Message. I think he also drew into, well, more order pads, which is important. He's also got himself Lieutenant Surge's strategy.
Order pad potentially able to find him any item in his deck. Will it find him the item in his deck? It's got to be a heads. It is not. It's a tails, which means order pad basically is just a discarded card in order for him to draw additional cards with Mages.
He's still got so much more to go. We already know that there's 1 B-string in his hand. He could go for a Lieutenant Surge straight away. We're also seeing the Ultra Space here. He can thin the deck of an extra Naganadel and Guzzlord, which is a pretty cute interaction here. He would probably just use it so that he could throw it away with Violent Appetite, but it doesn't look like it's there for him, so he's just going to give himself a quick shuffle up. Also, he's going to check his sort of outs that he's going to try and look for with the Bill's analysis, so a free Ultra Space there, looking through the deck and seeing what other options he has available to him.
Seems to still have something like a 6-card hand, so
yeah.
Nice. He plays that Lieutenant Surge right there in order to lower his hand size, and of course he's going to be able to play 2 more supporters before the end of his turn.
He's going to choose to use the Mismagius before
Mismagius
the Bill's analysis, just so that he digs deeper towards B-strings, I guess. Manuel taking 2 prize cards. That's the total amount that Jimmy is going to let him have for free. And now Jimmy's going to try and make him go through 2 Naganadel and Guzzlord. Obviously, Manuel now at that break point of 4 can fire off some B-strings.
So here's the question. Did he only find 1 B-string, or did he find another after that Mismagius? 1 B-string is good. 2 B-string is great. 2 B-string means you're set up for the rest of this game.
We know at the very least he's got Order Pad and Bill's analysis, so he's going to continue to thin the deck. Tag Call as well. That would allow him, he's still got 2 more supporters he can play this turn because he's already used a Lieutenant Surge.
Absolutely.
So he can always go for the Bills into a Cynthia Caitlyn or vice versa.
You see how smart this deck really is right here after you see this Tag Call, because not only do you basically build it to have a really explosive turn, but then after that, you have that Lieutenant Surge's strategy and all these other resources in order for you to kind of then cement your position after you've established it. So you start using your Mallow and Lana in order to reduce remove the damage. You use your own Guzzlord's ability to remove the damage as well. So this is basically a deck that's built to just get a ton of energy into play as soon as possible and then maintain them and hope that this damage reduction and damage removal is enough for you to be able to just keep these Pokemon in play until you manage to take all six of your own prizes.
And it's a fantastic Bill's analysis. I think it's the 2 ideal cards Jimmy would have asked for. He got himself that second B-string that we've already mentioned.
Exactly.
And it got him a reset stamp. So that's going to be putting Manuel down to a 4-card hand. There's only 1 Pidgey developed on his board, so even if he was to find 1 Pidgeotto, it's such a wild combination of cards for a Blacephalon to do much. So this is going to be really, really fantastic pressure from Jimmy, taking a Blacephalon off the board, initiating that prize race, and really trying to ruin Manuel's early hand.
You see Jimmy's deck in action here. You see how powerful.
I mean, look how many cards he's gone through.
Yeah.
It's insane.
You see how powerful
Still has 1 more supporter.
and Guzzlord is when it really gets going. And it's not even that difficult for it to get going. Here's the reset stamp. Really the last piece of that little puzzle that Jimmy just assembled, as now the reset stamp just removes all the benefits that he gave his opponent by setting up, right? Like, if you give your opponent 2 prize cards, that's 2 less cards in his prizes that he has to take, which means 2 more cards he gets to draw. So if you shuffle all of these cards back into his deck, and, well, there's a Pidgeotto, by the way, so this is going to be good news for Manuel, so I'll continue this thought in a second. But now, at this point, Manuel is hoping to find a proper combination of cards to welder onto his Blacephalon.
Oh, it's huge. He's got himself a Professor Elm's Lecture. I think because he only plays non-GXs, and I think because there's a Lily's Pokédoll here, I think he still has to have the slow route. He just says, as long as I can set up, I should be fine. So that's why you're seeing him grabbing 2 Pidgeys as well as another backup Pidgeotto, because he knows that Jimmy's only win condition is just sort of stamp me out of the good cards. So as long as you just have all of those Pidgeys ready to rumble, it shouldn't be a problem.
There's Pidgeotto. Does Airmail find him additional resources to get
Pokegear
an
looks
explosive
good for
turn
next
going?
turn. Yep.
Pokegear could always find himself a welder.
It's interesting that he does it this turn because you could dig deeper with additional airmails for next turn, but he finds himself another Professor Elm's Lecture, which is exactly what he wants, I think. He can now put down the extra Pidgey, and it means that he'll be establishing like all 3 next turn, so his draw engine will be pretty much fully online. Can get a manual attach in for turn as well.
You say it's exactly what he wants, but the reality is that he has very few energies in play, right?
I mean, I think he has time. That's the good news about like the nature of his deck. Jimmy can only take individual prizes outside of his GX attack, which can take 2 at once, of course. So I think he has a few turns to develop these Pidgeotto.
So now we see that Bill's analysis here from Jimmy. And Jimmy doesn't really have too many ways around, you know.
He's made his play, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right there. And Manuel kind of gets to sit behind this Lily's Pokédoll, right? And that does let him start to slow the game down, so to speak. But still, this Blacephalon requires 3 energy, and then it gets KO'd in 1 hit by Guzzlord. So really, you need to see an explosive turn out of Manuel to knock out a Guzzlord before he can start healing. If you see that, which once you have multiple Pidgeottos, it really does become quite easy. But if you see that, then really Jimmy is just in a really bad spot because this feels like a really bad matchup for this Naganadel and Guzzlord GX.
It does. I think Jimmy sort of made his play already on his second turn of the game, and the 4 cards were kind to Manuel, and the draw for turn, of course. It got him into a 1 airmail as well as a decent supporter card, so I think he sort of got around that initial reset stamp. Manuel just using that Ultra Space, I believe, for no effect there. That's why we're seeing a quick shuffle. We're going to see airmails start to fly as well.
All right, that was the first airmail. Potentially 2 more to go. Finds a Pidgey and potentially another card. Goes with a Pidgey. So that's the second airmail.
Pidgey, because you already have the Professor Elm in hand. It feels like you can always access the Pidgey. Maybe they were both targets that he could find.
I was going to say maybe it's just not another great card that was paired with it.
I think sometimes you also play Ditto Prism anyway, so he could still have 3 valid targets in his deck, potentially. It was actually a great catcher that he could have taken, so hopefully he still has 3 valid targets, otherwise he's like -1 himself for no reason. Okay, he has.
Professor Elm's Lecture finds 3 Pokemon that are 60 hit points or less and places them in Manuel's hand. Of course, Professor Elm's Lecture, a great pairing with Pidgeotto, who happens to have 60 hit points.
Yeah, he remembers.
You cannot evolve the Pidgey into a Pidgeotto.
Just 1 more Luft Post, which is
final airmail.
Pokegear is pretty good for next turn. He's going to continue to manually attach to his Blacephalon. He knows that Jimmy only plays great catchers, so he knows that Blacephalon is always going to be safe to just, you know, manually attach slowly towards.
Man, at this point, Jimmy is not feeling great. You're facing down 3 Pidgeotto, 3 Pidgeotto, a Pidgey, and 2 Blacephalon. So it's like the perfect setup for Manuel here. Really, he's not far behind. He's actually ahead, if you really think about it.
And all Jimmy can do is be patient at this point. He's holding on to that reset stamp. He's hoping that this first one didn't quite work out. Now I'm going to have to try and stamp Manuel down to 1, just get 1 like free turn of attacking, and then just GX for game, like eventually. That's all he's hoping for at this point. But he's kind of just got to ride the storm, let Manuel build up this big hand, and then Jimmy will try and stamp him down to 1 and hope that the 3 airmails that Manuel has isn't good enough. I think that was a Pokegear that just failed there as well from Manuel, his first action. Again, I kind of feel like you would probably want to do the airmails before any of this because you're digging deeper towards the welder. But I guess he's also looking for a bunch of like Fiery Flints and other such cards. He does have a Pokegear though. Possibly there's a different card that he was searching
Looks
with.
to find that welder, so...
Yeah, that's looking good.
Yeah, welder was a very, very important pickup here.
I think Fiery Flint is the next thing on his agenda with these airmails. Haven't seen many energy hit his discard pile just yet. I think there's only like 1 in there from like the Blazer from his Blacephalon earlier on in the game. So we're starting to see the airmails. Yep.
We're looking for a Fiery Flint. Would Fire Crystal be relevant right now?
I think he's already got 1 in the hand, and it only accesses 1 fire. Okay. So you just see him look through. It's basically Flint or just physical fires is all he really cares about too much right now.
A skateboard goes into the hand. Final airmail. I believe there's a Fire Energy.
Fire Energy's not too bad. Heat Factory also helps him dig a lot deeper. I don't mind this at all. It's a free discard because he's already holding the Fire Crystal.
Right.
I think you're... I mean, he's also got the Debate of Welder. It's like the same card because, like, either way you need to draw into a fire, but you got the Fire Crystal regardless, so you know you can at least get one.
There's another Fire Crystal in his hand now, too.
Now he can Welder for 3, and he's really hoping to find a Fiery Flint here, or just a bunch of physical fires.
All right, well, there's that Welder.
Ooh,
Draws
not
3
quite.
additional cards.
I don't think he can reach a knockout here. 300 is a lot of hit points to hit. Obviously, we're on a multiplier of 50 here, guys, so the 280 is essentially 300 when you're facing down a Blacephalon.
Yeah, unfortunately, not having access to enough fire energies from the discard pile means it was Fiery Flint or bust, and it ended up being a bust-style situation.
I really like the Pokédoll inclusion in Manuel's deck. It allows him to make this play, the escape board, so he can just try and buy himself an additional turn here. It's something that we haven't seen in many of the other Blacephalon Pidgeotto lists, but it really does help him buy some time, and it's going to be a real pain for Jimmy because he has no way around this.
Yeah, it was a combination of Welder attaching that additional energy so you don't fall behind on energies, and then the Lily's Pokédoll allowing him to not provide a prize for Jimmy, so Jimmy can never really get ahead here. At this point, do you consider using the GX attack of your Jimmy?
I mean, it feels like you can do it at any point. I would still probably just want to go through the Pokédoll as quickly as possible. I want to get my attacks out the way, just because you could. I mean, Manuel might have to just discard his own Pokédoll regardless, so I guess well, it doesn't discard, it goes back into the deck. But yeah, it looks like Jimmy chose to
knock it out.
Just knock it out, yeah. I don't mind either way. Like, regardless, you need to weave in the GX at some point, but you've got to make Manuel play and make him find stuff earlier. And what a huge top deck. He got into that.
He found the Fiery Flint,
finally.
Yeah. Finds the Fiery Flint there, which guarantees him a knockout here against Jimmy Penndarvis' first Guzzlord. But like you said, this is exactly where Jimmy knew he was going to end up after that first reset stamp failed.
Yeah. I think now that he's reached knockout, the next thing on Manuel's agenda is also have additional energies so that he can weld it to the benched Blacephalon. So he needs just less in total in order to close the game out.
Sure. And if you
he picked one up there.
Yeah, if
that's
you can
huge.
discard additional card. Oh, there's a Welder, by the way, yeah.
Yep, that's huge.
Yeah, that was a crucial pickup.
There's 3 fires in the discard pile for Manuel already. So he is already sort of over knocking out. So he will be able to use the Welder on the benched Blacephalon, even if it is just for 1 energy. And then, like, if you draw into another one, you can get a manual attachment. Give yourself easier ways to finish Jimmy off with that second Naganadel Guzzlord in the back. So
can he afford a Welder 2 energies?
It looks like he wouldn't take the risk otherwise.
Yeah.
Or maybe he would, I'm not sure.
But yeah, being able to afford to Welder 2 energies into play and discard enough to one-hit KO the Guzzlord is huge here for Manuel. It's going to mean that the reset stamp to 1 is going to be that much more likely to fail. And now Jimmy Penndarvis still has 4 prizes remaining, but Manuel gets himself down to a single prize card. Not all that relevant since you still have to knock out a tag team Pokemon, but still, that means 1 more knockout and Manuel wins this game. Can Jimmy Penndarvis lock Manuel's hand down to 1 with that reset stamp? If so, then Jimmy does have a chance of extending this to a Game 3. However, that seems unlikely as you can see that there are still 3 Pidgeotto in play for Manuel, which means we're going to be seeing 3 additional cards drawn from Manuel. And not only that, but he gets to pick what he draws, basically.
Ooh, I think it was a Pokegear as well that was picked up. Jimmy doing all he can, though. He's sort of making his move. He's just going to take the active knockout and force Manuel to have a bunch of stuff. But once again, there's a Pokédoll, so now he has 2 turns to accumulate this combo. I really feel like Manuel... Yeah, Manuel's built his deck very, very cleverly. These Pokédolls have been monstrous.
He may not have built the deck with Naganadel and Guzzlord in mind, but it was a very, very pleasant side effect, I'm sure.
For sure. We start to see airmails take effect now. A Fiery Flint is great.
Yeah, huge first airmail.
Welder as well. Phenomenal.
Huge first airmail. Does he really?
Cards.
And a Fire Crystal.
That's also a great
card.
These
are 2 crucial cards that he's finding. I think he's starting to do the math, wondering if that's going to be enough already.
Don't think we're there just yet. A physical fire helps him, but this is the joy of the Lily's Pokédoll. He can just set this up over 2 turns. There's no pressure here at all.
Heat Factory?
Yeah, that's in play. I think he's going to be firing it off now.
So there it is. Heat Factory fires off to draw 3 new cards. I believe that's another Fire Crystal?
Yeah, it looks like it. It's surprising to me that he actually got rid of this fire. I think I probably would have held it personally. It depends how many are left in his deck.
Yeah. So it is a Fiery Flint instead, and he's discarding the Flint and an additional card.
Yeah, you see, I probably would have held that fire. I guess now he's looking for just physical Fire Crystals.
Well, that's not a good trade-off, discarding 3 cards to find 1.
Well, when the ones can close the game, I think it's pretty chill. But still, I mean, here he is. So far, he's just accumulated to 150 damage this turn. He couldn't find himself a backup Pokédoll, so essentially he's saying, Jimmy, you can have one more turn. I'm just going to try and hope that my airmails close out the game and find me that final Fire Crystal to get over the line.
Do you feel like Manuel is starting to display some nerves here? I feel like he is.
I think he's pretty ahead, though. I still think this Pokédoll might lock it up for him. I mean, he's seeing like 8 cards, and his deck is pretty light at this point, so I don't think it's wrong to just dig for Fire Crystals to close at all. I think he's in a good spot. Jimmy, all he can do, knock out that Pokédoll, and it's down to Manuel now to just promote that Blacephalon, do a bunch of airmails, and see if he can find Fire Crystals. That's
Jimmy
the only card.
some
One
big
Fire
turns.
Crystal is all he needs.
Really liking how Jimmy is not really overthinking these turns. He realizes he has to win not only this game, but an additional game in order to top 8. So
there's the Fire Crystal.
yeah,
I
there's
think
that
that's
Fire
it.
Crystal. I believe that's going to be enough. That Fire Crystal should, and there's
Third
a welder as
airmail.
well. So it should be enough, I believe. I'm trying to do the math
As long
correctly.
as there's 6 in the
six
discard
cards in
pile.
his discard pile for sure,
I think
right?
he's there, yeah. He's definitely done some
Looks like we're
big
getting-
fireball circuses
There it is,
before.
for sure.
There's plenty.
Yes. So it looks like that Fire Crystal.
Manuel with a
Yep.
fist bump. He knows. He gets there.
One Fire Crystal down. Jimmy about to get the bad news of that
Just going
second
through the
Fire
actions,
Crystal.
making sure he doesn't make any mistakes here. Double Fire Crystal, and Jimmy knows. That's the game.
Yep, Jimmy scoops up his cards as Manuel Jorach wins 2 games to none and advances to the top 8 in all likelihood in this Latin American International Championships. Huge win for Manuel, defeating one of the best players in this game in a very quick, well, maybe quick isn't the right word, but a very decisive 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, Manuel, you can see exactly how much it means to him. I think he's one of these players that's quite consistent in Europe. Every now and then you'll see him in the, well, most of the time you'll see him around the top 32 placements, a handful of top 16 placements, but this top 8 is huge. He's really hungry for a big win because he's been missing out a few times.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier when I